Hello and welcome back to Assetto Corsa for yet another video on the Nordschleife challenge. Thank you very much for joining me in this particular video, and whilst last week we went out in a sporty BMW that was fast enough for what was it that it managed to get? I think it was third place, wasn't it? Was it third place? No, it was sixth place, sorry, with an 8 minute 17 or something like that. 8 minutes 17, 8 minutes 18. This car today is a completely different kettle of fish. Interesting saying, kettle of fish. No idea what it's supposed to mean. I just know it's a saying that's said when you say something's very different. Anyway, this is, of course, the Ferrari F40. It needs no real introduction, but there we go. It is a 2.9 litre twin turbocharged V8 go-kart. Really, I wouldn't say that it's anything other than a go-kart. And what is really particularly interesting about this car, amongst many other things, is of course the fact that this was the first road car to break the 200 mile per hour mark. Not reach 200 miles per hour. I believe that was the was it the Porsche 959? I believe it was a Porsche 959 reached 200 miles per hour. This one went and beat 200 miles per hour. Did 201 miles per hour. Not exactly the fastest in terms of when you're talking about, oh yes, we beat 200 miles per hour. What did you do? We did 201. Produces 472 brake horsepower at 7,000 RPM. It's about 424 foot-pounds of torque, or 575 newton meters, around 4,000 RPM. Of course, it has the twin turbo, so it's going to have a lot of turbo lag. You really have to have this car up in the rev range. I believe the 0 to, if you start this from nothing, this car actually struggles to get off the line. And then once it gets to about 30 miles an hour or something like that, that is when it just flies forward in a ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous manner. So obviously that is something that we are going to have to be aware of whilst driving it around. Other things about this car, let me think. I've gone through the speed. Of course, rear wheel drive, there's one. It is a rear wheel drive. It has a 5-speed manual gearbox, so that's going to be really nice to drive on or drive with. And in terms of mass, now there's obviously we always have contrasting mass calculations for this, but I believe it 1,200 1.2 tons, 1,200 kilos thereabouts, or 2,700 pounds. About that kind of mass is what we're looking at. So it does have quite a nice I think it's going to be quite an interesting one to drive. Funnily enough, a lot of people do think that this is lighter than it is. People think 1.2 tons, 1.3 tons thereabouts. People think that's a bit heavy for a car like this. But that is actually what the mass was, despite the go-kart nature of it. It's just fast, and I think a lot of people think that it's also lighter because they look at it and think it's completely bare bones. I mean, you can see there's no real window that you can open. It looks like a little slot. There's no door handle. Everything is stripped out quite a bit. Yet that is what you have. And of course, wheels. 245 45 R17s on the front, 335 35 R17s on the rear. So those are the wheels. We should have fairly decent grip, but I am expecting this car to slide around a bit. Up on the screen now, before we actually begin the driving, that is, we have the times. Now at the moment in first place we have the Dodge Viper RT10 from 1995. Given that this car can do 0 to 60 in 3.8 or 3.9 seconds, if you manage to get it perfectly launched, I'm guessing it's probably going to be more like 4.5 really. And this car is lighter than the Dodge Viper. It's just as fast, if not faster, than the Dodge Viper on acceleration. It certainly has a higher top speed than the Dodge Viper, and because it's lighter, it should be more agile, though the Dodge Viper was really, really good. So this should be more agile. I'm just going to say it right now. This is going to the top of the timesheets. That's my prediction. I do not know by how much though. Could be 1 second, could be 2 seconds, could be half a second. Might even be half a minute. This isn't going to be half a minute. But leave your comments right now in the comments box. Let me know, what do you think? Is it going to be fastest of all, or do you think it's going to be in second place or even third place? There is also a possibility for it being in fourth place. But there you go. As usual, I'm going to do a couple of Patreon practice laps, go around, see what I can do, and then I'm going to do a couple of proper laps, which you are going to see on screen next. So if you want to see the Patreon laps, link in the description box to support me on Patreon. If not, sit back and enjoy the V8 goodness of Ferrari's most notable machine, and possibly the greatest car ever built. Alright, so here we go now. I've had to just do a session restart, but that's okay. It just means that the first lap is going to be a little bit 16 seconds off what it should be. That's not a problem. Let's find out what kind of lap time it can do, even 16 seconds off the pace, and the second lap should hopefully be better. Now, a few things about this car and about how I'm driving it. I'm going to be driving it a little bit more conservatively, as I say that, as he bumps into that ridiculous, because I'm not able to get a good force feedback feel on this car, and I'm not sure if it's the car or if it's my steering wheel finally dying. I really am not sure, but I am struggling with any form of extreme feedback. So I cannot feel the car understeering, I cannot feel the back stepping out, and I know I used to be able to feel this, and that's going to be probably going to be a problem, quite a problem. So a lot of this I'm sort of relying on visual and sound, not so much force feedback. And it's interesting because having to do that, it's causing me to go back to maybe like Gran Turismo days, or when I first got this wheel and I was learning how to understand force feedback, and before I was just, everything was visual, and I was just looking at this and thinking, so that is what that's how I sense that, that's how I sense that feeling, you know, going over bumps and things like that. So it's definitely interesting. What's more interesting, of course, is this car itself, which is brilliant in itself to drive, in and of itself. It's a brilliant car to drive. There is a reason why it's regarded so highly, not just because of its engine and the first car to do 201 miles per hour, or the ridiculous turbo lag, or being the last car to be signed off by Enzo Ferrari himself, but it's also got to do with the fact that this car is just very good to drive. Ferrari's 40th anniversary machine, and it's extremely good. Yes, it looks really nice as well. It's a very iconic, notable design. I think, was it designed by Pininfarina? But it is also the fact that this car drives fantastically, and it's bare bones, as I mentioned in the intro. It's bare bones really inside. There's barely anything, and I wouldn't think a car like this would be anything other than really the odd track day, odd drive, spirited drive. Even then, I would say this is a car mainly for the track. And it doesn't have to be tracks like the Nurburgring. Any racetrack you can take this car to, I think, is where it belongs. And of course, maybe occasionally on a road, but nothing, I would say nothing too tight and twisty. And the reason I say that is because one of the problems I find with this car is the turbo lag. So if you're coming down through the gears and you're really slowing it down and you fall off the turbo quite a lot, then you're going to come out of a corner and you're going to give it a boot full of power, and you're going to have nothing, and then whoosh, massive turbos kick in. Suddenly you have 400 odd, or 450, 470 odd brake horsepower at your disposal, all coming in, and you will probably crash it. So that is why I think this car is more suited to racetracks. I can go around that a little bit faster than I have. Nevertheless, if you have a car like this, which most likely you haven't, if you're watching this video you probably haven't got a car like this, and if you have, that's fantastic, that's absolutely amazing. But if you have a car like this, it's a car for the racetrack, it's a car for faster roads. Yes, some twists and turns definitely because it's so agile, but it isn't for really slow corners. I cannot imagine this car pottering around London, you know, going down, for example, I don't know, trying to get down around Hyde Park Corner or something. That would be ridiculous, particularly in the traffic. I cannot see this car. You'd probably leave it in first gear and that's it, because I think first gear in this car can do 72 miles per hour, which is crazy. It also shows what you can do with massive turbos. This is a 2.9 litre engine with its massive turbos and produces almost 500 horsepower. I have a feeling this probably did produce more than 500 horsepower when it was actually in production, and they just said 479 measured. It might be one of the only times an Italian company has underestimated figures as opposed to overestimated, because we know, there goes the car because I touched the grass and didn't feel that, there we go, because we know that some Italian companies do tend to, at least in the past, probably not now, overestimate their figures so that their cars look better, they look more flamboyant. Doesn't take anything away from how the car drove, it probably drove fantastically regardless. At the end of the day, the figures, in my opinion, figures do not matter as much as having the ability to get the most out of a car and driving it to its fullest potential. So it doesn't matter if your car's got 100 bhp but you really like your car, and you're driving it well and you're enjoying how the car drives and how it handles and everything like that, then your 100 bhp is absolutely fine, a-okay for your driving. I need to still improve on that corner. But if your car has 300 bhp, same thing. Sure, it'll get around a corner faster, but the point is how it gets around the corner, or how it gets from A to B. Now you have 600 bhp in a car and you go down the motorway and it's cruising at 1,500 RPM. Kind of boring. Down the A roads you're doing 60 miles per hour, down our A roads, so just primary routes. 60 miles per hour, come up to a corner, you just ease off the accelerator, go around the corner, back on the accelerator, do not have to change gear, and it just has all that power available to you. That's dull. That's very dull. So, on the other hand, if you had a car where 60 miles per hour it's happy, but when you get to a corner you've got to downshift a couple of times and you can really get it around a corner and have a nice feeling as it goes around, then you're talking. That's going to be incredible. So our first lap comes in at 8 minutes 23, and that was with a crash, and 16 seconds. So first place is looking very viable if I can get this car around without binning it. That's the massive key. If I can do that, then we are in a very good situation. See, that's what I felt. I felt the car starting to go there, so that was good. And maybe it is just poor force feedback on Assetto Corsa's parts with this particular car. I just cannot tell anymore. 7 minutes 55 is what we're looking at here. Top of the car, It almost took off. That was poor. Should have let go of the accelerator. The tyres on this car are just right, I believe, for this car. Allow that top speed, but also have enough to be able to slow the car down when they need to. And one of the things I really do like about this car are the brakes, because you have these brakes that allow the car to slow down. That was terrible. Allow the car to slow down without locking up. Well, at least not locking up much. Occasionally they will lock up. For example, that corner, because it slopes inwards, you've got that, it slopes essentially to the right, and because of that you will end up with a potential lockup. But because this comes before an era of ABS and traction control, they needed you to be able to press the brakes in all the way without having a lockup. That's what you can do with this brakes, and that's something that I am getting used to, is having to press the brakes in all the way, because that's unusual in a car for me. If you have the ABS off and you press the brakes all the way, you're going to lock up. So I've always, you noticed on previous videos, I might press the brakes 50%, 60%, certainly not 100% unless I'm at very, very high speed. And we're able to, with the traction, with the grip on the tyres, able to bite. But as we slow down, there's more of a chance of it all locking up, so I have to ease off a little bit. With this car, you can slam on the brakes at any speed, pretty much any speed, maximum, and it will hold. And that's really, really good. Getting there, certainly getting there. Bad approach into that corner. So messed up, compromised the exit. Slight slip out of that corner, back of the car wants to step out. Back of the car does like to step out quite a bit here, as you would expect with a car of this caliber. Had to try and brake in a straight line there without messing up. Tried to centre that a little bit. The reason I brought it to the centre of the road was just in case the car did not slow down. Though, as I said, the brakes, you can push them in really all the way, which is great. They're not very strong brakes. That's probably one downside of this car. The brakes are not very strong at all. So you do have to be careful. 106, last time was 103, right? But I think I was in third last time, so as you saw, because I fell off the turbo, I lost time, which is something I should have been more aware of. This fourth gear off the turbo just did not help us whatsoever. Let's get around here. Ease it back onto the turbo. Coming out of that, because it's bumpy, you want to ease it back on the turbo, otherwise you're not going to have any purchase on the road, and then the car will most certainly slide. And one thing that you really do not want with a car like this is the car to just slide out, because of the turbos, it is hard to catch. It is very difficult to catch. I should have been in second through all of this, but you know what? It's okay for this section. We'll do second for all of this. Bounce off the limiter, back on. Correct there. Let that go wide, because I can feel the car there just not able to turn in. So let the car go wide there, because I should not have swapped from second to third coming up to YouTube corner, which apparently has always had a name that I just did not know. I thought it was one of those unnamed corners. This car sounds absolutely fantastic. I'll be honest, it's very... I am having to work for this. That's one thing that I do like about this car as well. I'm having to work for this lap time. It's not just coming to me easy. I am having to definitely work for this lap time. And I like that. There we go, that's much better in and out of the mini carousel. I cannot remember how many units of this particular car were produced. I do know that a number of them were missing, not many were available in right-hand drive. A lot of these were left-hand drive like this. And I know I've seen them in many different colours as well. But of course the red was the best one. I've changed the red on this. I think I'm using Rosso... Is this Rosso Scuderia as opposed to Rosso Corsa, which is the standard colour for this. So I'm just using a slightly darker red, and I just like the look of the darker red. I almost binned it there, and I felt that just go. Which is weird. But there you go, that is going to head into first place. I kind of want to try another lap, so I am going to, just to see what happens. That does say 8 minutes 23. Why did that say 8 minutes 23? That isn't right, it was 7 minutes something. Well, that's weird. Well, let's continue around and try and figure out why it did that. So that was 7 minutes 50 dead. Keep trying. I mean, you never know. I might get a... Last time I had a good third lap, so let's see if I can have a good third lap in this one. I think with this car, if you get it straightened up nicely... Nope. Can still save it. Yeah, can still save this. Half a second. I can manage that. Okay, 3/4 of a second. Can still manage that. Nope, cannot manage that. Okay, I'm going to end that there then. I need to check what on earth happened with the lap time. 7 minutes 50.271. There you go. That is top of the leaderboard. Brilliant driving car. So that goes straight to the top of the leaderboard. No questions asked. It's taken, what, 7 seconds out of the Dodge Viper, and I'll be honest, those laps were rather scruffy. What else can I say about this car in terms of drivability? Now, I did say I was having some difficulty with my force feedback, and that's something that I think we're going to have to take into account, because I don't want to give this car a bad score just because of force feedback. But then it is in Assetto Corsa, and if that's how it is in Assetto Corsa, that is how it is. I mean, it's similar, I suppose, to cars like the I think there was which car was supposed to feel really good and just did not. I cannot remember which one it was. But anyway, I'm just thinking that this is definitely one of those cars that go top 5. It's better than an M4 to drive, and I think that's that manual gearbox that is really helping. I think everything that's up there is all manual in the top 5. If we take out the M4 and put this there, this is nicer than an Exige to drive, but maybe not by much. I mean, this is where things get interesting, because now I'm comparing this to an Exige, and the Exige S was really good, but I put the M above the Exige, and now I'm rethinking that and thinking maybe the Exige was a little bit better than I thought, or than I put at that point in time. There's also the top spot vying for this car as well, because it's such a raw car. It's such a raw driving experience that you've got to question whether this doesn't go straight to the top because of that raw driving experience. And I think if I get my force feedback sorted out, this car's... oh dear. There's that. That's one thing about the car, that sometimes when it just snaps on you, I'm not keen on that. And again, I think that's force feedback related. For now, I'm going to put this car into third place. Yep, I'm going to put this car into third place. I was expecting to go top, but as I said, I think I'm having some trouble. So there we go. I'm going to place this into third place. That brings me to the end of this video. I know I was supposed to do this on a special video, but I couldn't think of another car to do at that point in time. So thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button if you like this video, subscribe to the channel for more videos on the Nordschleife challenge and maybe more videos on Assetto Corsa. I am trying to plan a few things up. Leave a comment in the comments box below letting me know what you think. Don't forget to support me on Patreon if you can do so at www.patreon.com/ECGadget. Your support would be massively appreciated. It would really help me out. And also you can find me on social media at ECGadgetLP for both Twitter and Instagram. That is all from me, and I will see you next time in another video on the Nordschleife challenge. But first, I'm going to see if I can fix whatever's wrong with my steering wheel. I'll see you then.